video is the second in a series of videos about buying your dream home in Italy. I recently had the chance to interview Italian real estate agent Stefania Zocche from the Corte dei Miracoli real estate agency in my adopted hometown of Vicenza in the beautiful Veneto region of Italy. If you're wondering what it takes to buy an Italian house as an expat, this video is for you. So, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, Stefania. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Great.
Yes.
So why don't you start by telling me how long you've been helping expats buy homes in Vicenza or in Italy in general?
It's about 20 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And are you the owner of this agency?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Wow, complimenti.
Grazie.
So how do the expats find you? Like, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, the best way is always by internet, so looking for the Corte dei Miracoli online and get in contact with me. But my clients normally get to me by word of mouth. Yes, so that's my always best way to get clients.
Word of mouth is always the best way, especially in Italy.
Yes, especially in Italy. Yes, it is.
Good. So what are some of the first things that you ask a new client when they come to you and they say, I want to buy a home in Italy?
Well, the first thing I ask is the purpose. I mean, why do they buy a house? Do they want to stay here, live here, use it for holidays, rent it out, is an investment? So that's the main question. What do you want to do with that house?
Yes, exactly.
And then, of course, where do you want to have it? Which are the main features that you need to find in this house?
Exactly.
Which region? Whatever.
Right. All the different...
And the budget, of course, because depending on the budget, they can offer different things. So.
Right, exactly. Good, okay. And do you find that it's generally easy for expats to find the type of property they're looking for, like in this area of Italy?
Not really, because they have an idea. Like they look for old and fascinating and historical building with big terraces. Well, that's not possible because the art department will never agree of adding a terrace in an old building, for instance. So I need to talk to them and understand, and make them understand what they can really find in Italy. So so normally they expect something and then they find something else, but they're happy anyway.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And are there any types of property that you would advise people against buying? Like, I've heard a lot of my Vicenza friends tell me, like, don't buy property that's ground floor because of safety concerns or flooding, or don't buy property with tenants already inside. So I hear these stories. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, well, there are lots of stories around, and if you listen to everybody, you're scared of everything. But that's the reality is that it is true that we had a flood in 2010-11, and I experienced that flooding. And so I got to know that every 100 years Vicenza was flooded. And it was pretty shocking actually. So I got to know which were the area where the flood arrived, and every 100 years in the same area arrived. So so there's specific area. Because part of Vicenza, even if you don't see it while you walk around, the main square, it's like 3 meters higher than the south part of Vicenza downtown. Okay. So there are some parts which are lower, some parts which are higher, but nevertheless the town council, they organized to have some kind of water collection when it's raining too much, and they are trying, and they did actually protect the town against this big flooding, the change of the weather anyway all around the world. It's a big...
It's a concern.
It's a concern. So they organized these places, and we never had that problem anymore from 2010, I mean. And there are some areas in the south part of Vicenza which are more agricultural area where I would not, for instance, recommend to buy, because I know that the water is really there, so it comes up pretty fast, but it's more agricultural field. And then buying on the ground floor, Vicenza is not a violent city. We don't have that much of a crime, actually. So
that's true.
I would not say don't buy the ground floor because of thieves or a security problem. That is not something I would say.
Okay, good. So let's talk about what happens once someone chooses a place and they're not living in Italy, let's say. They're not already a resident.
Yeah.
What do they need to have in order to buy a piece of property here?
First of all, they need to have the Codice Fiscale, which is an Italian security social number. Social security number, sorry.
Yes.
And they can get it right away at the fiscal office in town, which is just outside my office.
Oh, yes.
Right
The
Agenzia delle Entrate. And once they have that, they can buy, they can rent, they can open a bank account, they can do whatever. And it lasts forever, so it means that if they go away for 50 years and then they come back, they can still use the same Codice Fiscale. So it's something, you know, if you want to do something, it's always valid. I mean, you can do it and then keep it in your pocket, and then whenever you find out that you want to buy a house, you already have it. So that's something, yeah, you should do. And then after that, depending on the country they're coming from, I need to verify with the notary what kind of, you know, legal steps we need to do, because some countries have got an act of reciprocity, in the meaning that a citizen from America can buy in Italy and an Italian can buy in the States, for instance. And some other countries do not have this kind of act. And so we need to find out what is
if it's allowed.
Yeah, if it's allowed and what to do.
Okay, good to know. So if the expat doesn't speak Italian, I assume they need to have a translator on the day of the house purchase.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, usually what we suggest is to have an Italian friend or an American friend or whatever nationality they have, who can speak double languages, so Italian and the language they need to get translation for. In that way, they save money in the translation of the complete act. And so the buyers will give the power of attorney to their friends or their trusty person, and they will be at the deed together with this person who has a power of attorney. And the notary then feels good in asking the power of attorney guy to sign instead of the buyers, because the trusted people can translate, you know, all the deed to the buyers. If you don't have a trusted people, I've been doing that for some clients. Actually,
You serve as the power of attorney.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
It is not really correct, because if I'm a realtor, I should not be the connected person, and I should not be the power of attorney. But actually, it's not it's not illegal. I mean, it's just, you know, the buyers would be probably more comfortable with a third person.
I see. Yeah.
But the notary accepts the realtor as a third party, isn't it?
Okay. Good. If there's nobody else, then...
If there's nobody else, you can do like that. And of course, I'm not a translator. I'm not an official translator. I can speak good English, but I cannot translate the legal language. The legal language
That's very
is complicated.
Yes,
And so I explain the concept.
Yes. That's, I think, sufficient.
Yeah. And I think that once we have already checked all the paperwork, and once we have already checked if there's a lien on the house, or if there's something which is not working, you know,
you would know before.
Yes, I would know before.
Okay, good.
Never make something better.
You would have time to fix whatever issue there is.
Yes.
Okay. And about how long does it take normally? I mean, I guess it's different for everybody, but from the time of choosing the house to the time of purchase, how long does it usually take to buy it?
If you don't need a loan, you can get to a deed very quickly. But sorry, I forgot something. If the paperwork are ready, you can get to the loan even in 1 month's time. But the problem we have now is that to get the paperwork of the house out of the registration office in town and the town council, you need 3 months' time. And that is because the 110% bonus that the government issued, and everybody wants to have all the paperwork out, and the town council does not have enough people to work around it, so they are congested, and now there's a waiting time for 3 months before getting those paper out. And until when you don't have those paper out, you're not sure about what you're buying.
You have to be able to compare the diagram to the actual property.
Right. They need to be exactly the same. So what you see is what is on the paper, but most of the time the papers are in the town council since years and years, and nobody knows what it's declared there.
They didn't maybe update them. If somebody made changes to the property, it may not be updated.
Right.
And are you able to verify that as a realtor, or do you recommend that the buyer get like a third party to?
We have a technician. So we have our workers who can do these things, but of course they are specific technicians. And so we suggest to use this technician because he's pretty fast and he knows what we need. Otherwise, if the buyers have got their own technicians, they can use their own technicians. But it's not the real estate. I can check what the technicians does because I know what I need to have on papers for selling a house. But I'm not the expert which says, okay, you need to do that kind of things or that kind of things. That is the true technician who can tell us, how to work around the problem and how to solve it out. It's the technicians.
Okay, good. You need an expert for that.
You need an expert, that's for sure. It's too complicated.
And you mentioned loans, and I heard that it's not possible for expats to get a loan in Italy. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, unfortunately, none of the Italian banks will make a loan or give a mortgage to foreigner buyers unless they are resident here. So either they work here or they live here. Otherwise, they're not going to get a loan. And
what about Americans that are working in the base?
Yeah,
I mean,
they can because they work here. So they have a paper which states that they work here, so they are allowed to buy.
Okay, good. Yeah. And what are some of the challenges that expats face when they want to buy a place here? What advice would you give them?
Well, to get a trusted people and to find good people and trust
the people that are going to work on your house.
Because it's really a challenge even for an Italian to buy a house. So you never know on whom you're jumping into, and you never know also if you need renovation, if they're doing the right renovation in the right timing with the right price. So that's very important to find a trusted person, and then follow step by step. And
so, does your agency also recommend architects and people for the restructuring?
If they ask, yes.
Okay, so you have your network of contacts.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
That are trusted.
After more than 20 years that we work with the Americans on base, we have our little crew. So we have the plumber, we have the electrician, the painter, the worker.
It's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty hard because the artisans, we call them artisans in Italy, they're not really trusty because they tell you I come there tomorrow and then they show up after 1 week. So I had to choose the right ones.
When the ones you know are reliable.
Oh yeah, because they know they have to run pretty fast.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you have any other advice for the audience about buying a piece of property in Italy as an expat?
Well, the Vicenza is a beautiful little jewel, I think, and I realized it by selling houses to foreigners because they were coming to me and asking, I would like to buy a villa or an apartment or whatever. And at the beginning, I was asking why in Vicenza. There was French, Australians, and then I had also Japanese and from the Netherlands.
Wow.
So I was asking why Vicenza? I mean, there are many other art cities, and then they made me open my eyes on my own city, and I said, well, you are right. It's a small town, but not that small, and it's surrounded by hills. It's 1 hour away from the mountains, from the Alps, 1 hour away from the ocean, the beach, and then you have art everywhere, and it's not dangerous, and it's all walking distance. Exactly.
These are all the reasons why I settled in Italy, and I often
okay.
got this question from Italians.
Yeah.
First, why Italy, and second, why Vicenza?
Yeah.
And they ask me as
Yeah.
if they're incredulous that I would choose Vicenza, and I said, well, this place is beautiful. haven't you noticed?
And then also you have all the airports around you.
That's true.
It's Venice, Treviso, Bologna,
Yes.
Verona.
Even Milano is
Milano
not that
is
far.
not far.
Mhm.
And then the train
Yes.
takes you everywhere. You can go to Paris, you jump on the train at night and you're in Paris in the
In
morning.
the morning, yes, that's
It's
true.
one train.
That's true.
It's right there. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Stefania.
Yeah.
I'm sure this was really eye-opening for a lot of people, and they're looking for this exact kind of advice when buying a piece of property in Italy.
You're welcome.
So thank you so much for your time, and all the best, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.